heard or seen things today having to do with some of our colleagues having to make decisions one way or the other. I send many regards to them, and just wanted to let you guys know that we are where we are at, that we are still proceeding with camp for today until we get more information. So I just wanted to start with that, but now I really want to start with the fact that, like, we're going to drink some wine and have some really nice conversation and enjoy being with each other tonight, at least for the next hour or so. So with that, Kevin, go ahead.
All right, well, welcome again to the Alumni Happy Hour tonight. My name is Kevin Freitas. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at CYJ Midwest. And before I introduce you to our featured guest, Lee Salzman, I just want to let you know how tonight's program is going to run. In a few minutes, we will enjoy about a 20-minute wine seminar from Lee Salzman. Following the seminar, we will be breaking off into breakout rooms, which we will manually put you in by decade that you were at camp. So you're free to choose which decade you would like to enter. So at this time and throughout the wine seminar, I'd like you to rename yourself if you can. You're able to rename yourself on your Zoom. And I'd like you to type next to your name, to the left of your name, either a 70, an 80, a 90, a 00, or a 10 next to your name, so to the left of your name. So the example of that would be if you were at camp in 1977, you would type a 70 then your name. And this will allow us to send you to the room of your choice after the wine seminar. And again, during the breakout sessions, if at any time you want to change rooms, you'll be able to come back to the lobby and we'll be able to send you to the 80s or the 90s, depending on where you want to go.
Kevin, just so that I can let everyone know, in your little box where your face is, there on the top right is a little button that has 3 dots. Mm-hmm. If you click on that and you go down to rename, that is how you can name yourself. It looked like most people knew that, but if you are not familiar with Zoom, that is how you change your name. Yeah.
You can also right click on your mouse on the picture if you're using your computer. And following the seminar, Lee will actually stay in the lobby area where we're currently right now. So if you have any questions for her about anything that she talks about, feel free to stay around in the lobby or come back to the lobby and ask her anything then. You're also feel free to write any questions in the chat as well. As for upcoming events that we have, this Saturday night, we hope that you will join us at 8:45 p.m. Central Time. We know it's a little bit late East Coast, but we'll hope you will join us for Havdalah and Rakud. We had this about a month ago. It was absolutely incredible, very intimate and very lively when we did the Rakud. And again, it's 8:45 on Zoom. The link is through email, and you can also get it on social media. I will also post it in the chat. And next Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Central, we are excited to announce that along with all the other YJ camps nationwide, we are presenting an evening with Scott Rogowski. Scott Rogowski is the former host of the viral trivia app HQ and was named the top 25 most influential people on the internet by Time Magazine. This event will be hosted by Scotty K. If you listen to US 99 in Chicago, he's the weekday host on that channel. He was a finalist on So You Think You Can Dance and on American Ninja Warrior. So it's a really great lineup of people. It's at 6:30 next Thursday. Now to introduce you to Lee Salzman. She has been a certified sommelier since 2017. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Leading up to her certification, she studied and traveled to many of the great wine regions of the world. After passing the grueling tests, where there's only a 30% pass rate, she immediately started working at Italy, Chicago as their staff sommelier, and helped customers and workers improve their knowledge of wines around the world, with a specific concentration on Italian varietals. Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Salzman.
Hi, everybody. Does everybody have some good wine to try? What's everyone drinking? Barbara, what are you drinking? Can you hear me, Barbara?
Wine. As much as I know is it's red wine. I'm sorry. Failing the test.
All right, so, angry or two, I see that. Okay, good. So I just want to start for really basic. My name is Lee, and I'm a sommelier. And what does that mean? So what does a sommelier do? What's the point of it? So when you go to a restaurant and you're looking at the wine list, you're like, God, it's $60 for a bottle or $80 for a bottle. I don't know which I get. How do I know what's good and what's a scam or what's not good? What's the difference, right? Some people are like, wine is wine. Well, wine isn't wine. And a sommelier or a beverage director on staff is the person that's going to tell you, this is a good deal. This is a great wine. This pairs with your food. And so there is a point to have somebody who does know wine, who studied it in a restaurant or on staff somewhere. So that's what sommeliers do. We are wine directors. We pour, we teach, and we do food pairings, and we help people make good decisions and kind of stay away from big corporate wine production and kind of focus on the smaller production, so to speak, and help the smaller winemaker. Because when you are making a wine and it's a family business or it's a smaller business, you care about how things are grown. You care what's in your soil, you care what's in your grape, you care who's taking care of your wine. So that's what we kind of focus on. That's what a sommelier does in the modern sense. So what I'm going to focus just simply on old world wines, new world wines. And what does that mean? So for old world wines, France, Italy, Spain, Germany. So you're going to have your Chablis. Now, Chablis is a Chardonnay. So some people will be like, I don't like Chardonnay. Well, you might like Chablis because it's very different. So California Chardonnay is New World. Chablis is Old World. And they're made very differently. And so Old World wines are called by where the area is. So if someone says, I'll have a Chablis, that's a town. That's an area. But someone in the United States will be like, I want a Chardonnay. It's the same grape. So Old World wines are the area in which it's grown. New World wines, like United States, South America, it's the actual grape. So you say you want a Cabernet, you want a Chardonnay. New World. Old World, you want a Chablis, you want a Bordeaux, you want a Burgundy. Old World. Same grapes though. So that's what that means. So there's Old World and New World. And so Europe has the older world wines, and it's also grown in cooler climates. How many people say, I get headaches? Red wine gives me a headache. Oh my God, I can't drink it. It's the sulfites. It's not the sulfites, it's the alcohol. And the alcohol is higher in hotter climates. So when you look at a Cabernet from California, Napa Valley, it gets very hot there. And so the sugar content grows. A Cabernet is also called a Bordeaux. So Bordeaux in France, they get hail, they get snow, they get cool. It's a cooler climate. Cooler climate wines, lower alcohol. Hotter climates, higher alcohol. It's the alcohol giving you a headache. So it's not the sulfites. So if anyone says things are allergic to sulfites, it's not really that. It's the alcohol. And then, so the New World grapes are Australia, Israel, South America, United States, England. So just to start with the common grapes, the Chardonnay, it's grown all over the world, but the mother country is France. White Burgundy or Chablis. So it's a great food pairing with chicken and shellfish. California Chardonnays are what they call buttery. If you've heard of buttery Chardonnays, they're big, round, a lot of alcohol. Very different than your cold climate Burgundies, but it's the same grape. And then Pinot Noir, again, so Pinot Noir is grown here in Oregon, and then it's also grown in Burgundy. Same grape, different names. So you say you want a Pinot Noir, that's in Oregon. You say you want a Burgundy, it comes from France. Same grape. So some of the most expensive wines in the world are from Burgundy. And those wines can get up to the $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 in the Pinot Noirs. So those are the most expensive wines in the world. But Oregon in 1976 surpassed Burgundy as a better wine style. Same grape though, so that's a good thing for the United States. And then like I am drinking right now a Sangiovese. So I think Kevin's drinking a Sangiovese, and it's called Chianti, right? So Chianti is your light, medium-bodied wine, but the grape is Sangiovese, and it comes from all over Tuscany. So you've heard of Chianti, Chianti Classico, Brunello. Those are all Sangiovese. So you got Sangiovese is the grape, Chianti is the area. So that's the difference. When you hear it, you just know that that's what you're drinking. And then like another good wine. So the Cabernet and the Merlots, for example, that's very popular. So the Cabernet from California is very full-bodied and can give you a massive headache. The Cabernets from Bordeaux, much more tame. And you can get inexpensive Bordeaux, and it's very nice. But so the next thing I wanted to talk about is your label, what you're looking at when you get wine. Can you see that? So you see, right, Honig? And then when you look at your label, I want everyone to understand how important your label is, because that's how you're going to find out where your wine is from and how it's made. If it's organic, it will be on the label. If it's kosher, it will be on the label. And somewhere in tiny print somewhere, you're going to see your alcohol ABV. Does anyone have a bottle in front of them where they can see that? Your ABV is really important because that's what's going to determine if you're having a 12% alcohol by volume or 15%. And that's a huge difference. So if you want to pair your wines with steak and have it food friendly, you want to go lower ABV, alcohol by volume. And then, but your Napa Valleys are going to be 15% high alcohol, which is kind of going to give you a headache the next day. So reading your labels is really important. And then, so when you drink in your wine, just getting into the flavor, the reason we swirl our wine like this, not to be fancy, and we smell it, it's to open up the esters. And the esters are what give it the bouquet. And it puts oxygen into the wine and kind of ages it fast. So when you see people doing this, oh, you can't see me, like this, and then they smell it.
What are the esters exactly? What is that?
The esters are what give it the bouquet. It's the molecules in the wine, and then they shut down. You swirl it, they open up. It shuts down back and forth constantly. So you see people, and it looks like it's kind of being like pretentious or, you know, kind of showy, but it's not. It's really making you every time you taste it and smell it, you're getting the full effect of the wine. So that's what that does. And it really, like, it puts the oxygen in there, but as soon as you stop, they shut back down. So that's why people do that. And you'll see them keep swirling while they're at the table. Can you guys see me swirling? So you can swirl at the, exactly. Sometimes it's easier if you do it on the table. It won't spill. See, there you go, Kevin. So if you take a little sip, you can tell, is it sweet? Is it dry? Is it fruity? You know, what is it? So when people say fruit forward wine, that's a fruitier wine where it's almost tends to be, to my palate, a sweeter wine, has a little bit more sugar in it. And on the back, when it's not fruity, it's more of an old world style, a little drier. It's a little bit more, you know, you're like, I don't know if I like that. And that's really, you know, the reason is it goes really well with food. So the old world wines, the Chiantis, the Bordeaux, they really are meant to be paired with food because they don't have as much fruit. And that fruit doesn't always pair with what you're eating. And so sometimes you have this like jammy, big, grapey wine. It doesn't really go with steak, and it doesn't really go with anything. It's nice to just drink. So that's a difference. Like a big California Cabernet, sometimes you just want a glass of that, and that's it. You know, you don't need food with it. Some of the other stuff is more austere, like the Sangiovese. It's pretty tart. And so it's what we call linear. It's also like acid. So that really pairs with your food. That's what cuts through the cheese and the mozzarella and the pizza. So that's why those acids are good in that kind of wine. So what else do I have? Do you guys have any questions about anything about when you're drinking wine, or what it is that you're looking for, or what you like or don't like?
So I was curious. I liked your, you know, the one is, so if I have a Bordeaux, what is that in the New World?
So that would be a Cabernet or a Merlot. Yeah, so the Merlot and Cabernets come from the Bordeaux region, and those people that were in Bordeaux brought those vines to Napa Valley, and that's where it started. And the US got very, very good at making great Cabernet.
So do you deal in kosher wines at all, or like, you know,
Well,
trying to, go ahead.
The kosher, there's some really good kosher wines in Napa Valley. BR Cohn, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's BR, the initials, and then COHN. Excellent kosher wines. I tried to get one tonight. And then I have this other one that I just got at Binny's. I'm in Chicago. That's our big wine store. And it's called, the winery is called Tulip. It's a beautiful winery, and it's in a valley between the Golan Heights and the Upper Galilee. And they employ special needs adults to help in the winery. And they just made a huge donation to the COVID-19 crisis that Israel's dealing with. And so this winery, I encourage everyone to look it up. And you know, it's only $30. And it's Syrah. And Syrah is also another name for Shiraz. Have you guys heard of Shiraz? You know, in Australia they call it Shiraz. Well, in Israel, it's Syrah. United States, it's Syrah. In France, it's called the Northern Rhone. Again, it's the region. But yeah, so there's a lot of great kosher wineries now. And my dream is to go to Israel and to go to a lot of these wineries and see, because it's beautiful. So yeah, so all of the wines out of Israel are kosher. And then the ones in Napa Valley. So yeah, look it up. It's a beautiful winery. They do really beautiful things there. And then what else do I got? Anyone else have any questions? So I was just going to keep it quick. The last thing I wanted to talk about is when you're tasting your wine, one of the keys to whether or not you're drinking a pretty good wine, and it doesn't mean it's expensive, it means it was well made, is that when you take a sip and you let it sit on your tongue a little bit, and you still taste it a minute later, 30 seconds later, and you kind of feel it go down and it sits in the back of your throat, that's what's called a finish. And that's what an example of a well-made wine is. And a well-made wine is not necessarily an expensive wine. And that's all I got for now, unless anyone has any questions.
When people say like look for like the legs
Yes.
of the wine, like what is that referring to?
So the legs, when you swirl your wine and you look at the side, so you hold it up and you see it kind of trickling down on the sides, you see the wine, and it's called the legs. That is an indication of alcohol level. So, and sugar, which is also called the sugar in wine. And so if it's a slow drip, it usually has a little bit higher alcohol level. And if it's not really existent, it means it's probably a 13% alcohol level, but this, you can't really see it. Kevin, I don't know about yours. Can you see legs on your wine when you swirl? Kevin and I are both drinking Sangiovese. You have to kind of get a good swirl on it. Do you see your legs? I see them in here. So that's
I do see legs on mine, yeah.
So that means our wines are about 14% alcohol. So it's a little bit higher alcohol level. So that's what that means.
The Schulmans seem to have some type of red wine sauce, is it? With legs?
That'll work. When of course you can always dump your red wine into any sauce that you're making. I mean, pasta sauce or a beef bourguignon or anything like that. Always cook with wine too. It makes everything, it punches everything up a little bit. So if you have like 3 or 4 day old wine, that's the other thing I want to talk about. Your wine, when you don't finish the bottle, which is rare for me, but put your cork in it tight and put it in the refrigerator right away. Don't leave it on the counter, because the cold stops it from aging out. And so your wine, you're going to get two days longer for your wine than if you don't refrigerate it. So if you're not finishing your wine, whether it's red or white, put a cork in it, put it in the fridge. And that preserves your wine, especially if it's in a little bit more expensive wine, you don't want to finish it. Don't leave it on the counter because it gets too hot. And so the hotter, your counter is like 70 degrees or 68 degrees. That's too hot for red wine. And so it ages out, and then it's not so great the next day. And then your whites, you can get your whites to last 3 or 4 days after you open it, if you keep it in the fridge. So that's another good tip, is to make sure you cork your wine, put it back in the fridge as soon as you're done drinking it for the night. And that's about it. Anything else? You guys have any other questions? I mean, I could talk about wine forever.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. Nice to meet you.
You too.
I know you worked at Italy, so
I did.
Excepting Italy, what would you say is your favorite wine region in the world? If you had to choose another one outside of Italy.
Outside of Italy, I would say it has to be France. I think all sommeliers, we think of it as the mother country. Mm-hmm. It's where wine was perfected. And so everything else is sort of like trying to get there, right? And some people have gotten very, very close. But really the perfection was done in France because of the climate. So if you guys are email me anytime if you have my email or anything. I'm happy to, educate or tell you how to start studying, because the more you learn, and it's not hard, the better you drink, but the less you drink. Okay, so you want to drink better wine, but you drink less of it because, you just can't just drink anything sometimes. And France, there's so many wonderful regions of France that's making wine that even out in the country, and it's not famous and it's off the beaten path, the wine's excellent because they have the great oak. They're aging in oak and French barrels. So American oak, we're getting that big buttery alcohol. A lot of that's from the oak, the way it's being aged. So the French have these beautiful little barrels, and they just have perfected it for so long that, Burgundy is beautiful. If you like white wines, Alsace and Rieslings, beautiful. Like, not only is it the wine and the area, but it's the food, right? So the food and the wine pairs everywhere you go in France, and Italy too. Spain, it's kind of hodgepodge. America's whatever, but Spain or Italy and France, every region, your food is paired to the wine, because what grows together goes together. And so the same soil, it's the same climate, the food and the farm animals and the wine all kind of become one. And it's really gorgeous. Like, you really can't miss in France. You could go high end, you can go low end, and you're still going to have an extraordinary experience drinking wine and eating, honestly. So France is it for me. Yeah. So definitely. And I also have learned to, when I'm traveling, when I decide where to go, oh, what are you drinking? What kind of wine are you drinking?
A cheap and cheerful Chardonnay.
Nice. I started to figure out, because we travel so much, that I realized I only started going to places where if there's wine being made, I guarantee you the food is going to be spectacular. So if you go to a non-wine area, your food's going to, I don't know, good luck in Croatia. I don't know. I mean, the food might be okay, but if there might be a specific wine area, go to that town, because that's where the food's going to be better. So it's a really great guide. If you're like, where should we go? And you like food and you like wine, use that as your guide. And you cannot miss, I promise. You just can't miss if you do food and wine. Everything else, So that's all I got. Anyone has anything else?
If anyone has any questions for Lee, we're going to start to move you to the breakout rooms. However, when you're in the actual breakout rooms, if you want to come back to the lobby at any time, you can do that, and Lee will be here in the lobby if you have questions for her.
Drinking my wine.
Thank
So
you so
thanks-
much.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you very much, Lee.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Hi.
Cheers.
Fun.
Thanks,
All right,
Lee.
Sure. Anytime.
so give me just a second. I'm going to start assigning people out into the 80s first. You guys are going back to the 80s.
Woo, go 80.
Yeah.
I gotta work in my hair.
I
We're
love your
old. It'll
background.
take us longer to get there.
Huh? What? What'd you say? Huh?
We're not that old.
We get credit. She's gonna go.
All right. You guys are going back to the 2000s. 80s. All right, so I just have Robin, I think. Or wait, who am I missing? Oh, Adina and Jake. Gotta get you guys.
He wants to ask a question before we go.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi.
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 Robin, do you want to go to a room before they go?
Hey Lee, so the two of us live in Chicago. I've been to one of the wine events at Italy before. Our roommates from Italy. So I'm wondering what would be like a good wine I could buy at Benny's that would impress him.
So he works at Italy?
No.
He's from Italy.
He's from Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, he's
Very Italian.
Like 100%, right?
Yeah.
100% Italian. Yes.
Accent and all.
So where's he from in Italy?
He's from this beach town called Gaeta. It's southwest of Rome, but like kind of central Italy.
Okay. So I would say if you want to surprise him with something, and I'm not sure if Benny's has it. You can always text me or email me anytime. People do it all the time. They'll be like, I'm at Benny's, which I get. So that area, there is a wine called there's Vermentino and Vernaccia. Those are white wines. Those are grapes. And then there is Fiano. That's a white wine.
What was that one?
A Fiano. It's Fiano.